Today we're going to talk very briefly about a very interesting book we have come across and an author that we have mentioned before. The book is called Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare by Michael A. Hoffman II. The back of the book states from 007 to 2001, from Dealey Plaza to Apollo Moonflight, from the barrel of Bulldog 44 to the corridors of pyramids of Sirius, from the secret symbols of Jack the Ripper to the public symbolism of the first atomic bomb. This work illuminates the crimes and command ideology of the masonic cryptocracy, where ground zero meets 0 hour in a bestial crucible of ritual murder, human alchemy, and demonic invasion. Everything we love at the Soul Trap, mentioned in one blurb. It is a very fascinating book. Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare takes the reader to the core of cosmic cryptogram, a dark Oz where the ancient fables become modern memes for the psychological contagion and devastation of humanity, and where the stratagem, the author terms revelation of the method, becomes the key to the finale of the mystery of the ages. What is deeply moving to me about conspiracy theories that we come across is not simply that there is a sinister empire trying to control the world. There has always been that. What is deeply fascinating to me is that through all of this, there seems to be, there is, seeping through the cracks, a carefully told set of lies, a set of occult lies that make its way through everything. In other words, we've often talked about Luke chapter 4, where Christ encounters Satan. Satan says, if you'll bow down and worship me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world, for they are in my control. There you have an interesting paradigm. You have a spirit being, by definition, in control of the kingdoms of this world. Of course, the Bible also says, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, that Satan is the God of this world. What you have is the meshing of a spirit being in control of the physical world. You have a, by definition, religious spirit being that is fallen in control of a secular fallen world. And there is the juxtaposition of the secular and the sacred, of the empire and the occults. And that is really what Hoffman gets at. What he gets at is that there is a deep, profound connectivity, not just between the known conspiracies, but the unknown unveilings of the occult. On page 172, Hoffman makes a very interesting observation that I think really is deep into the book, the thesis of what he's getting at. He gives an example. He says in the bombing in the Moser bombing in New Jersey, the so-called unibomber used the alias H.C. Wickle. The son of Sam used the alias Wicked King Wicker. And the root of both these words, Wickle and Wicker, is Wick, which in turn is a derivative of the Old English word Wicca, meaning wizard, of which the feminine Wicca, literally witch. The Unabomber, at least since his fatal bombing of December 10th, 1994, in which Mr. Moser was killed, would seem to be the signaling to occult initiates and those who understand the twilight or language of the cryptocracy. Now here's the key of what he's getting at. In occult crimes, the objective is not linear. It's not a straight line from A to B. He says in occult crimes, the objective is not linear. That is to say, not solely bound to the achievement of the immediate effects of the attack on the victim, but may in fact be a part of a larger symbolic ritual magnified by the power of the electronic media for the purpose of the alchemical processing of the subconscious group mind of the masses. Now, I'll let you back up and listen to that again, but I have often thought about that. What is the point of Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, Parkland, on and on and on? What is the point of these things that take place? Well, we tend to look at it in a linear, moment, time by time view. But what is really happening? Could it be that there is a deeper occult, a deeper religious involvement that is taking place? Well, Hoffman talks about that. On page 175, he says, occult crimes are profoundly symbolic and are in some ways instances so constructed in order that they might have what Freemason Anton Mesmer called charm. The ability to attract additional symbolism and synchronicity and trigger a type of contagion in time and space, which generates other catastrophic events of ritual significance, as indicated by the symbols and twilight language that are attached to them, as a spin-off from the primary rite of invocation. In other words, what he's saying is that there's more to it than what you see. In other words, it's not just enough to captivate the people. You have to captivate the soul. It's not enough just to captivate a society, but you have to captivate a generation. What you want, in essence, through the occultic constraints, is to imprison a planet. You have to make the world subservient, not by force and tanks and guns, but by the mind and the soul and confusion. And that is what is taking place, a reconditioning, a recalibration of the human mind, and maybe even the influence of the tares that have been sown over the centuries into the field. In another place, he writes, there is and has been since this nation's inception a secret society that practices what the ancients termed sorcery, but which is nothing more than a kind of mind control. Their members are found in the FBI, the Secret Service, the Department of Justice, the halls of Congress, the corridors of finance, industry, and the media of news and entertainment. These forces have combined to condition Americans into the breaking of millennia-old moral and racial taboos as a means of tearing them from their roots and their heritage, causing them to deride even the most basic survival instincts and natural law. That is what he's talking about. Now, these dark forces are not at work in the grungy dens of LA rock clubs or dancing around, as we've said before, a bonfire, even playing Dungeons and Dragons. No, they are experienced at the highest levels of government, religion, science, technology, all designed to reshaping the mind of man. Hoffman goes on to write, in a study of mind control and psychological warfare, it is not enough to simply review the latest technology of coercion, the most recent gadgetry and techno-junk littering the hardware and supply depots of governments and cults. Far more dangerous than these appliances is the praxis behind them, the underground current which informs the modern project and this modern era. For life in our modern era is little more than life in an open-air mind control laboratory, where a form of human alchemy has emerged to transform the mass of targeted precipitants, targeted merely by virtue of their being urban dwellers, plugged into the electronic and digital pageantry of the establishment's system of things. The public have been trained to do this by two principal methods: direct speaking, archetypal messages of pure terror, psychic driving, as the CIA's Dr. Ewan Cameron termed it, encoded in massively publicized, quote, lone nut mass murders and the sinister flattery heaped upon them by their masters in the cult of civilization and progress. The acid test of human beings' freedom and will to protect the quality of his life lies in a person's attitude towards his oppressor. What is modern man's attitude towards Wall Street and the bankers? Toward Dan Rather and the ignorance-bestowing media and advertising man? Toward Lincoln, Truman, FDR, the Bushes, Exxon? As one writer has observed, and as Hoffman writes, the most amazing thing about the American people is that they are constantly defending their worst betrayers. Who then is the modern man? He is a mind-bombed patsy who gets his marching orders from twilight language, key words sprinkled throughout his news and current events. Even as he dances to the tune of the elite managers of human behavior, he scoffs with great derision at the idea of the existence and operation of a technology of mass mind control emanating from the media and government. Modern man is much too smart to believe anything as superstitious as that, he thinks. Modern man is, in fact, the ideal hypnotic subject, puffed up on the idea that he is the crown of creation. Exactly the way the Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. An interesting read I highly recommend. We don't agree with everything by Hoffman, but there is a lot of meat on this bone. Secret societies, psychological warfare, and what's really going on in the world.